and welcome back to another episode of Always Open. I'm your host, Barbara Dunkelman today, and today we have two very special guests with us, starting with Lindsay Jones.
Hey, everybody. What's up?
Welcome back to the show.
Thank you kindly.
And first-time guest on Always Open, and very good friend of ours, Patricia Summersett.
Yay! Yes. Welcome back.
Where do I look? Where do I?
All the
Everywhere.
cameras.
Please.
Yeah.
Just at
Hi, guys.
us,
Hi, guys. Hi, guys.
preferably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Just us.
Like, just keep it on the. Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So happy to have you here.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. It's just nice to see you guys.
Thank you.
I saw in the email that you were going to be here, and I was elated, because I think the last time we saw you in office, you were with Alfredo, and we were doing promo for Off Topic, and he still remembers it very fondly, but it was a much different energy. It was very chaotic, and this is a much more like relaxed environment, I would hope, right?
We'll see.
Yeah.
There's no tase fist on this show.
Again,
The taste
TBD.
testing,
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. So Patricia has visited us here at Rashid before. Been on Off Topic. Did you do anything else with us, or was that the?
I think it was twice off topic. Really? Was
Yeah,
that
you
it?
did Off Topic a couple times. We did like an office tour, and I guess for anyone at home who's watching, Patricia does a ton of stuff. I'm speaking on your IMDb page and your repertoire. Patricia's amazing, fantastic person just in general. We've been able to hang out with you at conventions a few times, but you've done a ton of voice acting work. You're, I would argue, a great video gamer because I saw you with Achievement Hunter, and we've had a lot of guests before, and my skills are still really bad, but you meshed perfectly. So I'd say just like overall nerd badass. Sure.
Oh,
Patricia.
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think you have to be if you voice Zelda.
Yeah.
Like you have to be a badass.
You become one by default.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know. Oh, I thought you meant a nerd or something. I was like, when you said badass, I was like, I finished that sentence and I was like, no, you don't.
No,
both.
You can be all of the above. Yeah. Well, we first met you at, I forget what convention it was, but it was a few years ago at this point.
Yeah.
And I think we bonded over both being from Montreal or living in Montreal.
Yes. That's so cool. I love it.
There's so many, I feel like the coolest people are from Montreal. Not myself. Everyone else I've met.
Yeah,
I can agree. I'm from Texas. Please, I have no room to talk. I'm like, y'all are amazing. Wow. Y'all free healthcare shit. Yeah.
Wow. That's so cool.
I did see that energy, and I feel like that's a natural gravitation for anyone from any country, but especially Canada. There's Canadian friendliness, but then there's Canadian like brotherhood, and I've watched it in action with you and Elise and with you and Patricia before too. I'm like, oh yes, there they go. The maple syrups.
Underlying connection.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
A tingle in the brain. Yeah. So how you been? What have you been up to?
Oh gosh. I've been well. I've been traveling more and more. That sort of had taken a hiatus for quite a while, and now I'm really back on the road. I just got back from camping at Bryce National Park. So
Whoa.
yeah, and the
Like
plan is
full on camping? Like
in a camper. In a camper. It was not that, but
For
I
us,
think
it's
more of that's
roughing
in
it.
the future.
Yes. You stepped outside of your home. Yeah. There's no couches
indoor
there.
plumbing?
Yeah. Oh my God.
I come from Upper Michigan though, so it's very rural. So that's
got
like
you.
nothing for me. But yeah, and I've been doing a lot of conventions lately. Actually, it's been back on the circuit this year. So
yeah,
that's been a thing to the point where I'm like, okay, I need to do other kinds of work and allow more space for other kinds of work so I can just focus a little more. But it's also like an amazing gift and super cool and wonderful to travel. So
absolutely,
no complaints. Like really can't complain.
What's been your favorite place?
I am actually really excited to be in Austin, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, because I haven't been here in years. I think the last time I was here was 2000 and, would it have been like 18 or 19?
Was that visiting us? Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
And you're here for another convention as well.
Yeah, it was 2018. Yeah, and I'm here, for GalaxyCon. Can we say that on that? Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yes. Like, I don't even
This
know
will come out a little bit after this, so it'll be a little dated, but
in a galaxy far back.
Oh, you're
right?
good. You can promote as many feature cons as you want to. We can talk about that. That's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, go for it.
I know we're doing a convention in December in Birmingham.
Oh,
are you doing that one?
Yes, I am.
Yes. There we go. Okay. Come see us.
All three of us, yeah.
Two of the greatest Canadians I know, and then a little Texan just hanging out in Birmingham.
You mean Kara?
Yeah, it's true. Yes, honestly. Yes.
Yeah, all Team Ruby will be there, and then you'll be there.
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting.
It's going to be a fun one.
I'm stoked.
Trevor and I are planning a trip to Scotland right before that. We're going to try to
do like the whole.
Yeah, it's going to be a big UK kind of extravaganza for us.
Have you been to Scotland before or no?
Never.
Okay. I think you have, Patricia. Have you or no?
I have not been to Scotland.
got
It's
you.
been one of the few places, in the UK that I have not been to.
Because you're a world traveler. You just mentioned like traveling for conventions, but you've told us stories about just like your adventures abroad. I'm like, I love that for you.
I was going to say I probably said something like the Middle East when you asked me last time what my favorite places were.
Yeah, we're like, like we kind of just like sat there
fascinating.
going like a sleepover. Like, tell us your tales, Patricia, please. Like, more.
Well, I do want to talk about, voice acting a little bit. All three of us have experience with voice acting, some more than others. Patricia.
Heads of series here. What am I talking about?
But I'm curious if, a lot of people ask us at conventions or like just in general, and I'm sure you get these questions a lot at panels and different Q&As.
I wonder if I do. Let's see.
All these questions of just like, how do you get into voice acting? And like, what's been your favorite character to play? And all these different questions. But I'm curious if voice acting was always something that you wanted to do and always something that you kind of strived towards growing up or even just like in your career.
I would say I would never have been able to conceive of voice acting as a job, and I've never fully committed to voice acting alone. I still do TV, film, theater, and try other things all the time. Music, I'm constantly not okay with just doing voice because I think I would find the auditioning process really too redundant with no outlet otherwise.
Oh, totally.
But yeah, I grew up with three sisters. We all sang together. We all sang and danced in our little rural town of Upper Michigan.
Did you have like a band together?
I
love sister bands.
I was going to say yes, please.
We actually kind of very, very casually do now called the Summersett Sisters.
Oh, cute!
That's amazing. Yes.
Well, it's just because two of them are singers. One of them is an opera singer. The other is a singer-songwriter. And they've all sort of gravitated back towards Michigan. And the youngest was more of she was an ice dancer. She was a competitive ice dancer and quite up there. She was like 6th in the U.S. when she was. And then she turned into a dentist and an outdoors woman. So now she's like a hunter-fisher dentist.
That's insane.
But we all love to do music together.
So badass.
You described an anime character. That's
She is. She'd be like it's like or a Greek character, like an Artemis or something.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
And she can do your fillings. That's
Yes, she can. And I've never had to pay for dental work in my life.
I hate you.
I know.
I hate you so much.
I'm so
my
sorry.
mom's a dentist too, and now my sister's like the next in line. The same thing. I agree
wow.
completely. It's amazing to not have to worry about dental work. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, I have
It
a
is
lot of family
incredibly
members that are
privileged.
like doctors, dentists, lawyers, all that stuff, but they all live in Canada, so I'm not going to go all the way back home to get dental work done. So
Fair. You can
want
just
to pay
have
those
one.
American prices.
We'll adopt you. It's cool. Like
I mean, if you want
Barbara,
to, I'd totally be down. That's so awesome, though.
Yeah, it's fun. But yeah, I grew up doing voice acting. So
Yeah.
like on some level, singing, dancing, a little bit of theater, and then I ultimately found it in college. I took a class and then was like, oh my gosh, you can make characters and this can be part of a career. I just had one teacher who'd done it, and I just started right away. I just knew it was going to be done parallel to everything else that I was doing. So
I didn't realize they had like classes for that kind of stuff in college.
might have been one of the first. I mean, it was theater. It was university theater program.
I feel like speaking to a lot of voice actors specifically, like a lot of them do have like background in theater or musical theater specifically. So I guess I'm not surprised to hear that like you have a singing background also. Have you ever have you been allowed to sing for characters too? Because that's some of the most fun ever. Like character singing for me is a joy.
I love that you say that. I not many.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, we need more. Let's go.
I know. I feel like that's just like an untapped skill there.
But I'm not musical theater. I have like my style, and I don't read music like so easily. I'm not trained in that way. My sister is, but not me. So I'm always really cautious when people. I've done a little bit of songs on stage, but again, I can't belt. I stay away from anything that's really out of my comfort zone. And now I'm like, I'm not going to learn that skill.
Everyone has their own style. Yeah. I feel like that you know yourself. That's good. Instead of like coming in and going, I don't know, you're like, this is what I do.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Where I go, I do not sing. I do not do karaoke. Do not put me in any sort of lyrical situation.
Barbara and I sing after a few margaritas at
Yeah,
the convention hall circuit.
What did you sing?
Oh my gosh. We would probably do something. I'd be a jerk and put on like Chumbawamba or something. Like
Oh.
tub thumping. And like after the 5th, I get knocked down. They'd be like, okay, someone pull Lindsay off stage.
Is that your
please."
go-to karaoke?
Sometimes
song?
if I'm like too gone, usually it's that or like harkening back to the Texan in me. I do Friends in Low Places a lot, and it's just
Garth Brooks.
Thank you. I love Garth Brooks. I feel like it's a really good rousing like bar song too. So if everyone else is just kind of like drunk but happy and like living their life, it's like, hey, let's just sing with this person I just met 3 seconds ago. Why
not?
And it's got that
yes,
thing that they
yes.
do.
I love the build up and drop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those private karaoke rooms are intimidating to me. Everyone's just like, do the private room. Like, it's just you and your friends or like whoever. And I'm like, that's so much more like, I don't know. Like, I feel like when you're in a big crowd or in like a big room or a big bar, it's like no one's really paying attention and people are just being drunk and silly. But when you're in a room by yourself, I just feel like it's really intimidating, even though you're with your friends? I don't know. Like, to me, that seems like more daunting.
It's like a private dance, honestly, which, like, not to liken it to a strip club, but so I hear. This is how it works.
Even from Montreal, we happen to know a lot about this. It is like a private dance.
Thank you, Patricia. Thank you.
Doesn't Montreal have the highest number of strip clubs per capita?
Probably, yes.
In any place in the world?
Really?
Oh, I don't know about that anymore.
Maybe there's probably somewhere in, like, I don't know, Amsterdam that has.
I would say that there's got to be some competition there, but
I know it's pretty high up there, though.
I'd say they're known for their high quality strip clubs.
I can believe that. I can believe that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're like, I'm just imagining traveling to Montreal. I'm like, I know I'm going to get a good deal and a clean spot. Thank you.
That's right.
And they serve poutine.
Yeah.
Poutine. Wait.
And with really nice wine. Orange wine and poutine.
Yeah. Ooh, orange wines. Hold on. Say no more.
My stomach turned when you said that. We're recording this pretty early in the morning, too. So the idea of orange wine right now is like, oh, God.
Oh, you don't want some?
Maybe a little Irish in my coffee. Goodness.
Right.
I'll be honest, and we can talk about that a little bit. We were speaking about that last night. Barbara and I were hanging out, just having a casual dinner with some friends. And I was saying, I don't really like drink anymore. And I'm in my mid-30s now. And not to like toot my own horn. It's not a really good thing, I guess, anyways. But like my 20s, I drank. We had like party lifestyle. And suddenly my body was just like, nah, I'm not feeling it anymore.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it. And I don't know if you guys had that experience either, or if you even like enjoyed drinking casually. But that was especially like part of our lifestyle and our work, I would argue, like parties and industry gatherings and stuff like that. Everyone's drinking.
We used to drink on set a lot, like when we did Off Topic or the RT podcast or like any of the shows we used to do. Drinking was such like a heavy part of that. But I think like because like the whole company got older
together.
Yes, yeah. we all started like in our early mid-20s, and now we're all in our like mid-30s, and we're just like, oh, that's gonna give me a headache, and I'm not gonna like be really active tomorrow if I drink a lot today. So like, yeah, I'm the same way. I just like, I'll have a cocktail at dinner or like wine or whatever, but it's not something. We don't even own liquor anymore at our house. Oh. Yeah.
I appreciate the reverse peer pressure.
Yeah. Yes, no, go, Patricia. Like, yes. I'm all about it.
Well, what do you like? Please.
I actually just like a dry martini or a Boulevardier. Those are my two go-tos.
No, that's classy.
If I'm going to drink a martini or if I'm going to drink a cocktail, I want it like hard and I want to know exactly what's in it. I don't kind of mess with anything that I don't know anymore. I just go like, if I feel like it, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to do what we call an Annette. It's so horrible. It's my sister's name, but it's like, it's a martini because she was in the wine industry for a long time. So
very cool.
Very lifestyle, but it's just, it's either gin or vodka. I like both. Little bit of dry vermouth, a lemon twist, and an olive.
Ooh.
Not too dirty.
Oh, like, I love that.
Beautiful.
That's great.
Again,
I love it. Simple, classy. Like I would always just do like some. It would either be like simple but very trashy, like just have some vodka, Tito's, throw it in with some cranberry juice, whatever you got back there. Yeah,
rum and coke.
Oh my God, absolutely.
Situation. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh man. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if it's like because my body can't handle it anymore, or I've just never really been a big drinker. But I like martinis because I like olives. Yeah. I literally just get a martini to get the olives, and then I'm just like, just give me a full stack in that drink, and then I'm good to go.
So I feel like movie moment wise, I do like picturing that as like a cute like introduction to someone if you're dating, or like a cute like couple pairing of like, I'll order the martini, you can have the olive, babes. Like, oh, it's so cute. Look, it works out for them.
Works every time.
We like to do some would you rather questions on this show.
Okay.
And this actually plays into what we were talking about right before we started recording, which was being an extrovert or an introvert. So I'm very curious to see what you guys will say on this one. So this question is, would you rather spend a year alone or a year constantly surrounded by a big group of people?
Oof.
Both
right.
suck.
Right. I know. Can I fluctuate back and forth between the two, like a month at a time? That'd be great.
Sure.
Honestly, right?
How are you feeling?
Yeah.
I mean, if you have to lean one way or the other, definitely alone.
Yeah.
I've tried that on some level before, and it's like kind of worked. Even though I said I'd never do it again, like during the pandemic, I feel like everybody probably has like real life visceral responses if they were to get that question now because of the pandemic. Like some people were inundated with like too much of one or the other.
True. Very true.
I was too much alone for part of it. But it also, I wrote a screenplay, like it served me to like, I did a lot of therapy. There we go. Alone with no therapy and like no check-ins with people, devastating.
Yeah.
Absolutely impossible would be scary.
Very concerning. Yeah.
But the idea of being around people all the time, even just thinking about that, I'm like,
I know.
Oh no!
So here, I got you.
Oh no!
I got you.
Oh, I love it. Oh, thanks.
Here, on Always Open, we support each other. We wipe up each other's messes too.
There's always at least one spill on this show, and it's usually me, so don't worry. But yeah, I was thinking about this the other day. Because at first when I read this, I go, oh, definitely alone. Like, I do not want to be surrounded by people constantly. That sounds like a nightmare. But I was like, if you are completely alone for a whole year, I feel like that would be maddening.
Yeah.
And like so depressing. And I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, I'd much rather be alone. Like, yeah, for sure. I love my alone time. And to a degree, I do. But if there's absolutely no human contact, no anything, no checking in with people, no calls, no texts, like nothing like that, that I feel would mess me up in a way that like I can't even comprehend.
Yeah, no, I agree. And having been the person in the past where like I self-isolated just like out of necessity or fear or whatever it may be, and I thought it was healthy, but I definitely think there's something to the sentiment of like we are social creatures. Even though you might not want to have like a ton of friends or you might not be like a super extroverted person, you need some form of contact. So even though it felt like I was benefiting myself by removing people that might be toxic. Like I'm helping them also by removing myself. It was like bad to both parties. So with that mentality, I go, okay, I need some connection to people. Maybe I could just treat it like I'm walking through New York City. I'm with everybody, but I'm alone, right? Like no one's talking to me. It's fine.
Yeah.
I like that feeling. Like I like being alone, but I don't like being lonely, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lonely is probably one of the most devastating feelings that you could have. But man, I do love my alone time. I don't know about you guys, but like for you, when Michael and the kids, if they're not home, you're just like, I'm going to go crazy.
It's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Well, talking about like audio stimulus too, Patricia and I were mentioning that like conventions and whatnot. Like I'm either way overstimulated, and that goes with kids and hanging out with Michael too. Like naturally their kids are loud. So I'm either like, it's too much, or like it flows over me like water. And Barbara's watched me before where I'm just like, they're loud. What are you going to do?
Kids are screaming, running around. You're like, get your shoes on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I think still my answer would probably have to be alone.
You think so? Yeah.
Yes. Asterisks. I love my children and want to see them all the time.
Oh,
but
for
yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
I do think like I think I could make it work a year alone. I think like if you do some like journaling and like really work on yourself for that year, there's a way to go about it. But when I look at this question and it's like surrounded by a group of people constantly, I imagine that like when you're sleeping, when you're eating, when you're going to the bathroom, when it's like you're doing anything and it's like you never have a moment of peace.
You have to be engaged with that group.
Yeah.
You can't just like be there. You're like not like a prop or a plant.
Yeah.
I feel like wouldn't you end up sort of disassociating?
Yeah.
And then you'd have to find a way to find yourself back in a group, like because you would never be able to spend any time listening to yourself. And it sounds like you guys have lots going on, like a lot of internal dialogue going on. I know I do, like constantly. And I like to sit with it. No?
We talk about that. Yeah.
It's a very weird thing where, there's the questions that people pose where half the population will have one opinion and half the other will have the other opinion, but they don't know the other person exists. Like standing up to wipe versus sitting down to wipe.
Yeah.
The people who sit are just like, what the fuck are you doing standing up? And
Who's
the people who are standing up.
wipe? That can't
be
be
half
Barbara.
of the population. That just can't be
I don't know if it's half and half. And I also want to preface this. It's not fully standing up. It's just kind of hovering over.
But doesn't that depend on the day? I don't know.
Right. Oh my goodness.
And what you just did. But it's the same thing with internal monologue where I don't know if it's half. Again, there's some people who constantly have an internal monologue of like, I'm going to go here and I'm going to do this and I'm going to pick this up and like talking to yourself essentially in your head. I have head empty, no thoughts.
Okay.
Like I do not have any internal monologue. It's just kind of like I know what I need to do and I do it in a way.
Oh.
I never speak to myself, talk out loud, anything like that. I don't talk in my head to myself, nothing. And I told this to a few people and they're just like, so it's just like nothing? And I'm like, yeah, it's
jealous. It's so quiet.
Yeah, it's so quiet.
Oh my God.
All the time.
That's fascinating. Well, clearly things are going on. They're just not turning into words before you process them. It reminds me of like studying character types for acting, where you have these different archetypes, and one of them would be a dreamer, which is somebody who takes something in sensorially and then feels right away. And that's usually like a 15-year-old or like a younger person. And a lot of the protagonists that you see that are female, they're very romantic, would be this type. And then you have something that they call near, which makes the world go round, and it's sensing and intuiting, where you're sensing something and then you're not actually putting thoughts to it. You're just doing the action. You can go into automatic very easily.
Yeah.
And that would be sort of that. And then you have other things like, which would be like a doctor archetype or something, which is sensing thinking right away. And these are all like, but they're just like ways of going into a character, and there's 6 of them. But cool. I often come back to that when I hear things like that. I'm like,
especially the physicality of a character. Like you just mentioned the motor skills. I'm wondering if that is like kind of your subconscious, because I catch myself doing that too. And I want to hear about what your internal thought process is like.
Well, yeah.
Please. Well, like, do you hear your own voice too? And do you hear other people's voices?
An inner monologue kind of situation?
Yeah, I got a pretty heavy inner monologue, I think, that I'm comfortable sitting with, and I need a lot of time with it before I make certain decisions. It might even be a little bit of a crutch. I'm realizing as I'm getting older that it might be a little bit of a funny trait that I have quite strongly as people have like given me feedback. I'm like, oh, okay. But yeah, I'd say I'm having on the inner monologue, and it needs to calm down a lot of time. And the only way I can do that is like I do meditate now. It's probably a form of anxiety too, I would say, that I've done a lot of work on in the last years. So, so I'm more conscious of what is like cycling around and what I might be thinking. Like I can come out of it easier now than I used to when I was younger.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's good.
I've recently started to try meditation. It is wonderful.
Yeah.
Like I've noticed, I'm still getting used to it and like actually trying to like not, because like it's not that I don't have an inner monologue in those moments. It's like you just are still thinking about like what you want to do that day, or like the sounds that you're hearing and stuff like that, and like learning to just kind of focus on your breathing and stuff like that. I'm not super good at it yet, but I've noticed the days I try it, I have such a better day.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
It's like remarkably better when I do that. So if you want to try meditation, highly recommend it. I know there's a couple apps for it.
There is
YouTube
like
videos.
I don't remember this study. I was nerding out and I just went through like a Wikipedia dive, but there was like a scientific study from I think it was like the 60s where they talked about like the actual like the repetition of a mantra is you physically like going through the motions of something, and in that repetition you are relieving yourself. You're allowing yourself to like pass your stress on generally. So I think it makes sense either meditation wise or like if you're religious or spiritual, if you have that moment to pause for yourself and look within and allow yourself to kind of like remove external, again, I say stimulus a lot, but it's true, or like factors that are impeding in your life or your day to day. I think that's so helpful.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of struggle now as an adult finding that feeling. So I'm glad you found it also.
I imagine too with like 2 kids and stuff too. There's like so much you have to be thinking about, and like such a mental load in that situation.
I appreciate it. I'm like, there's a lot, there's definitely like a lot of different factors, and that adds to it. And everyone has their different stresses. I like thinking about just like the way my brain works. You talked about sitting quietly. I'm so envious because I sit down and again it's like tub thumping comes on. I'm like, I'm trying to meditate. I don't want to get down again. Exactly. Or like, you know, a memory from 3rd grade pops up. I'm like, why am I thinking about that? I'm just trying to relax here. Like, come on now. None of this.
Our brains do little tricky fun things on us all the time.
For sure. I have liked, and I don't know if this adds to like the meditation aspect, but just kind of to help with that, I just go into like nerd lore basically. So there are times where I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna like pretend I'm in an elven forest in Lord of the Rings. I'm like, okay, Galadriel needs to talk to me, and I just gotta like tune everybody else out. What's up, Galadriel? Like, tell me your tales.
Oh wow,
yeah,
you go really heavy on.
I have to.
The imagination.
I have to like role play my meditation basically.
Oh,
yeah, but
it
helps.
Honestly, it's like finding what works for you. What would you do? You have like a morning routine that you do? Like every morning you do this, and this?
I used to. Yeah. My routine's been really knocked off lately, and I do feel like I'm suffering because of it. I'd say in my prime, my morning routine would be wake up and actually meditate right away, even just for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I have an app, Waking Up, it's called, Sam Harris. I really like that one because he doesn't sort of try to put music and stuff into it. It's just very much his voice. He combines a few different meditations in one, and then it's done. Boom.
Yeah.
You know,
I love that.
Just making the choice to do it. Yeah.
I was using Headspace for that.
Nice. Okay,
I've
heard of that one too.
It's good for beginners too, because they have like guided meditation that they do, and there's like lessons where it gets like a little bit longer each time, but each time they like teach you kind of new techniques and stuff like that. And you get to choose which voice you want to, which I love.
What options do they have? Like, what are the voices?
There's like a few different male voices, like male sounding voices, and different like female sounding voices. And there's one that I love that's like all right, my name's Eve, and we're going to be... Yes. I think it's Eve. I think her name is.
I love it.
But it's like the kind of lower British kind of feminine voice, and I love it. It's so relaxing.
I can make a comment. I feel like I might ruin this for you, Barbara, and I'm sorry. But I love that because it sounds wonderful and calming. But my silly brain thinks of salad fingers. So I would just be like, yes, salad fingers, let's relax.
I like rusty spoons.
I'm going to rub the spoon salad fingers. I feel so calm right now. Thank you.
Now I need an app with all of the like memes from the early 2000s.
Oh, please.
These different characters from YouTube videos being meditated guides.
I would love that. I'll ask too. I guess this is meditation adjacent. Sure, that's the proper nomenclature.
Adjacent.
Of course, yeah. Bit of an expert here. Do y'all do manifestations too, or like repeating mantras in an attempt to convince yourself that you are able to achieve this?
No, I think I probably do a version of that when I'm hyping myself up for work. I definitely need like time before I'm going in to do, I don't know, like a callback or some sort of performance. That's especially if it's live. I'll sort of do a version of that where I'll kind of repeat gestures and things, something from my training formally. But no, I've not done manifestations, and I probably could benefit from this. I think there's something that maybe freaks me out, the idea of it a little bit. I mean, that's crazy. That's a crazy thing. But why, I did grow up in church, and I'm like, nope, anything that's too chanty,
I gotcha.
I'm like, nah, I'm going to avoid that.
That's fair. Yeah. See, I went to a lot of sports games growing up, so it's like, I'm past that.
VICTORY, victory. Every morning.
Exactly.
Who's your favorite sports team? Just have to ask.
Gosh. I mean, I grew up with like, my father is still in the Troy Aikman era of like the Cowboys. So I grew up in a Cowboys household. Listen.
Yeehaw, baby.
Yeah, I went to many Mavs games, many Stars games. How about you?
I grew up in Michigan, but right now, like Habs for hockey, I can't say that. I can't not say that.
Talk to Barbara about hockey.
I was born in Montreal, but I grew up in Ottawa. So
right.
I like the Sens. I was a Sens fan growing up. But
how dare
I know. We're mortal enemies now.
How dare you?
But I do like the Habs. Like, if I had to pick a secondary team, even though they are rivals, it's like basically Montreal and Ottawa.
Gotcha.
May
Yeah.
Okay. Dallas and Houston.
I know. It's always the cities that are like the closest to each other that have the biggest rivals.
Right.
Yes.
Of course.
But it was hard being in Montreal, especially when I went back for college and not trying to support the Habs because it was just like everywhere all the time.
And did you go to McGill?
I went to Concordia.
No, you went to, like me, right? Of course. Yeah. Oh my God, totally. Right.
The other school in Montreal.
The other school.
I just support Ebo so much. I'm sitting going,
yeah,
yes,
sports,
excellent.
I've actually started. I learn a lot of stuff from TikTok now, and I actually started doing manifestations that someone on TikTok had recommended, and it's not like I'm constantly saying it to myself, but every now and then I'll say it to myself to remind myself of I'm so lucky and good things happen to me.
Oh yeah.
And like literally that's it. That's all I say and that's all I think about. And it's like, it's weird because in my mind, the way manifestations work, it's not like I am willing this into existence. It's like all of a sudden like good things are going to start happening to me. It's more of when you tell yourself something, you'll notice when those things are true. So it's like, I'm so lucky. Like, oh, I got to do this really cool opportunity. It's because I'm so lucky. And it's like essentially reaffirming those manifestations that you're telling yourself. It's not like, oh, all of a sudden because I started telling myself these things, magically the world around me is nicer to me. It's more of like you notice when those things happen more instead of being like, oh, I suck, everyone hates me, I'm so unlucky, bad things happen to me all the time. And then you only notice when those things happen.
Absolutely. I feel like that sounds like it has such merit. It makes me think, well, maybe I should do manifestations.
Yeah, honestly, even just like a really easy little like,
there's tons
really
like on
happy.
YouTube. Yeah. I mean, you mentioned it and you're totally right. I think the great summarization is like, for me, it's reframing my internal monologue. It was very negative for multiple reasons. But like when you analyze it, I was like, a lot of this is outside influences or people telling me things that eventually became ingrained into my brain. And now it's here and it's my voice. And I just want that to go away now. So yeah, it's just become like you said, I'm so lucky. I'm very happy that I get to do this. Just kind of rethinking your life. I know Erin mentioned this last time we traveled together, and she had a great point. Instead of waking up in the morning and going like, oh, I have to do this, I got to do that. Because I get to do this. I get to wake up. I get to go to my job. I get to do this. I'm like, yeah. when I boiled it down loosely, I would always be like, hey, I'm alive. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So now we can kind of add to that and go like, I'm alive and I get to do voice acting today, or I'm alive and I get to do VTubing. I'm like, that's really cool. But the small steps have really helped a lot.
Absolutely. They really add up and they make a big difference for sure.
Mm-hmm. And then you mentioned like, I feel like obviously, like most people would probably assume it's not really magical, but I do like to have some fun with it, going back to like role playing and stuff. I'm like, if you want to pretend to be a witch, just pretend to be a witch.
Why not?
Woo.
Oh my God, you sound like the best mom.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
Just kids that get to grow up that have that as a kind of just an easy option, like facilitation.
I appreciate that.
Fun to make believe.
Thank you.
Sure.
I'm well. We'll talk about if it's okay because we're about to. Today is September 1st as we're recording this, so it's like.
Do you
fall.
remember?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm a huge Halloween person, and I'm definitely a Halloween mom.
Very particular types.
What does that mean?
I'm the mom that dresses up. I'm like, wow, let's have fun, kids. I'm like passing out candy and throwing it like chickens in the yard, and I'm throwing feet out.
Immediately start decorating.
Oh, of course, yes. Was your family big on celebrations and holidays or anything like that? Yes. Okay. What holidays brought your family together?
Halloween was an interesting one. I was just thinking about because I have 3 sisters and we would sing together. But like when we were younger, we'd all like sing, and my mom would make us go to old folks' homes, all dressed up and like sing in harmony for people who couldn't get out.
That's
and
so sweet.
We recall that from Halloween, and that was I'm like that was such a really lovely thing to do around town.
Yeah. That's awesome.
The only time it backfired was when my older sister ended up at the house, and she was like, "No, Mom, don't, we can't."
Oh,
and
no.
it was like a boy she was like mad crushing on, and she's the oldest of 4, and she was devastated, and so she like hung out in the corner, and she was just like,
"Oh no,"
like just like
the
teenage
teenage angst.
Yeah, like she must have been 12 or 13 or something, and we were all like, it's still like too young to know what was going on, so like just having a great
and
old
that's
time.
the age too where you are the most embarrassed.
Yes. Everything's just happening.
Middle school times are rough. Oh yeah, goodness. I hope she's able to look back fondly now, though.
Oh, she's scarred.
Oh, no.
Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
And now they're married with 3 kids.
They did date eventually, I think.
Oh,
but
really?
for a long time.
Okay, so
Hey, I saw you at the old folks' home. You were hanging out in the corners. Looked pretty good.
Yeah,
That actually
that's where
wasn't
I
at
fell
an
in
old
love.
folks' home. That was their home. But
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it
See,
was
there.
even worse.
That makes sense.
It's like Christmas caroling, but for Halloween.
We did the Christmas caroling too. But
I
that's
love that though. I've never ever heard of like carolers for Halloween, and like I want that.
Oh yeah.
Please
Imagine
come sing
like
So
a bunch
do
of kids
kids.
going,
You get
"This is
candy at the
Halloween."
same time. Yeah, right.
All right, well, let's wrap things up with an audience question that we have sent in to us. If you want to send us a question, you could do that. We would love it. You could send that to alwaysopen@roosterteeth.com, and we will keep you anonymous. We are thrilled to have Children's Miracle Network as a sponsor, considering Rooster Teeth has been doing an annual Extra Life stream for over 10 years now. Can you believe it? Every minute, 62 kids enter a member hospital of Children's Miracle Network hospitals, and children's hospitals rely on donations to serve their communities and the kids they treat. We believe that when you change kids' health, you unlock a world of possibilities for their future. Through Extra Life, you could play the games you love while raising critical funds for kids treated at member hospitals of Children's Miracle Network hospitals. That means you could give back by simply playing the games you already love. Extra Life is proud to have grown into a successful, community-driven cause gaming program, having raised more than $100 million in the last 15 years. By joining Extra Life, you are becoming a change maker for children's health. Be a hero for kids in your community. You guys know we love Extra Life. We love doing it every single year. We're coming back this year on November 11th to do another 24-hour stream. It's going to be crazy. We hope to see you there to help raise money for an amazing cause. We really care about this cause, and it means so much to have you guys by our side supporting what we're doing and donating and spreading the word and just having fun alongside us. So sign up for Extra Life today to play games to change kids' health. Thank you, Extra Life, and thank you, Children's Miracle Network Hospitals. Today's episode is sponsored by Jenny Kane, and it's honestly perfect timing because my wardrobe could definitely use a fall refresh. Jenny Kane is a California brand through and through, and their staples make getting dressed super easy. They focused on comfort, quality, and timeless design so you could curate a wardrobe that never goes out of style. They're known for their super luxe yet lightweight sweaters, and trust me, they do cashmere better than anyone. The Cashmere Fisherman and Cashmere Cocoon are best sellers in every season, but I'm always most excited to style them every fall. They also have a stunning collection of home essentials, from timeless furniture pieces, cozy throws, perfectly curated decor, and the most incredible candles. I've talked about Jenny Kane before. I have their Chloe crew neck that I wear probably at least once a week. It's going to be more during the fall, of course. But everything just lies so perfectly on your body. It's such great quality, and it's going to last a lifetime. They have so many things to choose from, and they're all wonderful. So find your forever pieces at jennykane.com. Our listeners get 15% off your first order when you use the code ALWAYSOPEN at checkout. That's 15% off your first order at JENNIKAYNE.com with the promo code ALWAYSOPEN. Let getting dressed be one less thing to worry about. Thank you, Jenny Kane, for making this show possible, and thank you for sponsoring. All right, here's our question for today. I'm 23 and my partner is 27. We've been dating just over a year, and this is the first major relationship in either of our lives. I've been quite the pessimist most of my life, so I constantly feel like I'm not good enough for anyone. And on top of that, as a child of divorce, I got so used to arguments being commonplace. We've yet to have a fight of any kind, not even the slightest disagreement. So I always feel like a fight is right around the corner, and that always gets in my head, making me worry for what I feel like is something that I shouldn't at all worry about. Seeing as we have great communication between each other, am I just getting in my own head too much? Is this a normal worry to have? Just a bit lost and don't know how to even start a discussion like this with my partner, worried that, on its own, could be what starts a fight. Thanks for any advice. So fear of fighting, essentially.
I have a few thoughts, but please,
yeah, no, I was
Patricia.
like, you have lots of experience with a long relationship where you can probably speak to that.
Michael and I have been together for about a week.
Damn, y'all were quick.
In a different land, a week in a different land, which ultimately
dog
amounts
years.
to
Yeah.
Just joking. Goodness. This is just from my experience. It sounds like this might be a little bit of self-sabotage. And I've definitely had this thought before many times where I'm like hanging out with someone, or like it seems like things are going really well, and I start going, things are going too well. Like it's impossible for it to be going this well. There has to be something wrong, and they're just not telling me, or I'm doing something and I don't realize it. And
Wait
then
for the other shoe to drop.
Basically, yeah. And it just turns into this crazy like mental head game where you're just like tricking yourself and making yourself feel bad. So it's hard to do. And I don't know if this is what's happening here, but I've just had to kind of take people at their face value. And if they're saying like, I'm having fun, go, they're having fun. They said they're having fun, and that's that.
Yeah.
Move on.
Yeah. That's a good way to be.
But yeah. How about you?
I mean, my thought is, if she comes from a divorce situation, which can be so painful, and a lot of people do, and it creates such interesting like abandonment issues and all of that, it might be really hard not to, as you said, like the self-sabotage thing sounds. I think
Very
like
understandable.
there's it seems like the lumping of fighting and ending a relationship is like she's put them together perhaps a little bit.
Yeah, there might be like, just I guess coming from a family of divorce, it seems like, oh well, all this fighting led to the end of a relationship. So that means like any fighting might lead to some big explosion that might lead to this. It's kind of like this person seems to be doing the mental gymnastics ahead of something happening and making assumptions, and that's a common kind of idea.
But maybe it's the word, like the association of the word fighting versus it being something else. Like, I don't know, fighting, maybe for her, fighting means something really scary, but does fighting have to actually be a negative?
Or is it conflict?
Yeah, conflict.
Right.
And having a conflict and being able to talk through a conflict can be one of the most, huge things that you could do. I don't know.
But they're going to say human, but it's actually both very accurate. It's like, it is one of the most human things you can do. It's like, there's going to be conflict. There's naturally going to be differences in opinions and experiences. But I think you're right, though, and I've been there before too, where it's like whether you realize it or not, your brain is going, I'm going to end this before it hurts me, before I have this pain again.
Yeah, it's very true. I also feel like it's a tough situation when you don't know how your partner is going to react to an argument, and if you have yet to have that experience with them, there might be this fear of like, oh, well, if we have this disagreement, are they going to explode? Are they going to react this way? I don't know. Like, how am I going to react to them? How are we going to react with each other? Because I think like a huge part of a relationship working is being able to handle conflict and being able to handle a disagreement. Because if like there's a disconnect on communication, or if there's like one person's always blaming the other person and one person's always the one to apologize, that's like a huge disconnect and a huge imbalance that I think sometimes is a really hard thing to get through with relationships.
Yeah.
And any situation.
You're not wrong. I'm curious, this phrasing might sound insensitive, but I'm trying to be sincere about this. It's like, is it deemed unfair to not voice concern or not voice your opinion on something out of fear of their response? Like, you're worried about how the reaction is going to be, therefore I cannot express myself, I cannot fully be myself.
I imagine that is a bit of an unhealthy tendency. Yeah,
right.
And that, if we've talked about it on previous episodes before, like if you feel like you're in a situation where you have to walk on eggshells or you don't want to upset your partner for fear of a fight, like that could be like pretty detrimental to a relationship. And I feel like if you feel unsafe or like not be able to be vulnerable or open or like voice your concerns or frustrations, like that's probably an unhealthy situation to be in.
Yeah. And it could be an unfounded fear too. I want to be clear, like audience members aren't like, oh, they're saying their partner's abusive. I'm like, no. Like that's not what I'm saying at all. But like the fact that this person is so concerned about voicing their opinions that should be addressed for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Probably with her partner eventually. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just like maybe address that she's got that concern potentially.
Yeah. Well, I'd imagine it wouldn't even limit to their partner. If you feel this way about
or
your
a
partner,
therapist or a friend,
right?
A trusted person.
I can imagine your interactions with other people must be the same way. Like, surely, like, do you find difficulty expressing yourself at work? Do you find difficulty expressing yourself with anyone if you're worried about their response? Maybe it's more than just an interaction with your partner situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It feels like it's all about how you frame it. And how much kind of time and space you can put into it. Doesn't need to be a big blowout if you're going to have some sort of conflict. You can approach it with a certain degree of words and let people know how you are going in. Like, you can make it a safer. It's impossible to make it completely safe, right? But
right.
Yeah.
The safer is a good way to phrase it. Yeah, it's not gonna be perfect, but it's safer. Yeah, we can plan.
They had
a little bit.
Yeah, we can plan for this. Yeah.
They mentioned too that they've been dating for just over a year and have yet to have any sort of like argument or fight, which couldn't, like, I've been in relationships where we just never fought, and like it was just that, like, not in like the nature of that relationship or the nature of me and this person. We just like never had anything to really argue about, and when we disagreed on something, it was just like, yeah, I don't really like the way you said that. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, like
that. Cool.
Just I'll it's, I think the best thing you could do is, if you do have a concern, to try to address it immediately, because I think the way a lot of bigger fights or arguments happen is when you hold things in and you don't address things that are bothering you or things that someone did that upset you, and you let that fester inside you, and then like when it does come out, it comes out like in a big way. But yeah, it's I don't know if like having a discussion with your partner of like, hey, so I know we haven't fought yet, and I'm a little scared of like when we do, just because of like this, my history here and like my background with this. So like, let's have a game plan going into a fight.
I love it.
Of like, let's make sure we hear each other out and like understand each other, and no one feels like they're completely at fault for anything. I think maybe having that kind of discussion could help if you do find yourself in that situation.
Yeah. Or even like going over, even if you're not realizing what yours are, like what your communication styles are like, or what your attachment styles are like, hey, I'm usually like this, or like how do you usually feel when there is conflict in your life? That'd be a great way to like address the topic, but not go, hey, we haven't fought yet, you know?
Yeah, because I don't think talking about it is going to lead to a fight, which is what they said in this question of just like, I'm worried if I bring it up, that'll lead to the big fight.
Right.
I'm a child of the 90s, so I mean, we all are millennials.
Yeah.
Do you guys watch Daria?
I did
on
actually.
I watched a little bit of that. It's a little hard to remember now.
Got you.
Yeah.
I mean, I was obsessed. I've been rewatching it too. But there's a really funny scene where she's at the therapist, and I feel like this is the great polar examples of this. You can talk to your partner and be open in communication, or you can be like Daria, which I wouldn't recommend. She talks about in her therapy session, she just deadpan goes, and I'm so despondent that I reject people before they can reject me. Can I go now? I was like, yep, don't be like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think also what's important too when you have a disagreement with your partner is not to get defensive right off the bat, because you have to realize that everyone has their own thoughts and feelings, and if you did something that they misunderstood or misperceived, that's not necessarily, like, don't take the blame for that. It's like there's two people at play and different mindsets going on. So like I think a lot of people tend to react very defensively at first when they're in a fight. Just like, well, I didn't do this, or I didn't mean to do that, and you're taking it the wrong way. And it's like, okay, let's talk about that. Let's understand why I took that the wrong way, and like how we could improve communication in this situation. It doesn't always necessarily have to be this big problem. It's more of trying to understand each other better and work through those moments. But yeah, don't be afraid of it. I think it's a good way to improve communication and improve a relationship. And I know, like, anytime I've had disagreements or moments like this with a partner, it's just made us stronger, made us understand each other better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody holding space for you in a moment when you're deeply afraid and you express yourself, and that person just being like, I'm here, I'm going to listen to you. That connection is one of those powerful things that could possibly exist.
Absolutely.
It's invaluable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Snaps to that.
Right. I'm going to go home and hug my kids. I'll be right back. Goodness.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for your answers to that. Thank you for your question. Good luck. And if anything, just if you need to call us.
We got you.
Fisticuffs all around.
We will. Yeah. Patricia calls the orders. We pull up the hoodies and we go, all right.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. I actually feel like you guys are bodyguards.
I know. We kind of
like black hoodies.
Yes.
Both wearing like these black
You're
hoodies.
both a few inches
Whatever
taller
you want,
than me.
Mama Summersett, you let us know.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Well, that's going to wrap up our show for today. Patricia, is there anything you'd like to plug for our audience, where they could find you, what you'll be doing, what you'll be up to?
Oh boy, I'm so bad at plugs. I really should be better at that. I mean, I'm at Gala. No, that doesn't work. That's like
This will probably come out in like end of October-ish.
Okay, cool.
We mentioned Birmingham, so we can
We'll be
out there again.
Birmingham.
Yes, patriciasummersett.com for appearance stuff.
Oh, amazing.
Hopefully I'll have some I have a new album out this year with my band, so it's got records. I got a couple vinyls.
Yeah, where can people get that? On your website as well?
It's like, actually, you can, summersetband.com. It's like this 8-piece band, so you can look there for it. Other than that, just socials.
Yeah.
At @Summersett_ on all the socials.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
And joining
Thank
us.
you. Yeah,
Lindsay, thank you as always for being here as well.
It's a delight. Like, it's been a nice Friday morning in general. But everyone's just so like smiley and beautiful tomorrow. I'm like, yeah, this is great. All right, cool.
It's like brunch.
It
It's like
is,
brunch.
yeah.
This is a regular.
So we got our
Cheers.
coffee, multiple drinks on the table.
No, yeah, this is my brunch. This is accurate.
A Diet Coke. Awesome. And thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Always Open. If you're not already, please subscribe to our channel, All Good No Worries. Come check us out on roosterteeth.com, where you could watch this show, as well as support us with First. If you become a First member, it's kind of like our Patreon, where it supports all the shows we make here at Rooster Teeth, including Always Open and everything else with All Good No Worries. We appreciate you. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye. Goodbye.